President Maduro has been kidnapped. I don't know if you guys have seen the news lately, but the big question, of course, is was he actually kidnapped? If you read the mainstream media, they've released some guidelines that, say he wasn't kidnapped. The BBC had this leaked memo where they said, to ensure clarity and consistency in our reporting, please follow the guidelines when describing the recent events in Venezuela, captured or seized, and avoid using the word kidnapped. Thanks for keeping this in mind as you work on related stories. What I really want to focus on in this segment is just how bad the consent has been manufactured around Venezuela. If you know the classics, we have Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent, although, the title does have a double meaning now that we know Chomsky was best buddies with Epstein. Our good friend Parenti, he never goes wrong here. If you've read basic left-wing literature, things like Michael Parenti's Inventing Reality and Manufacturing Consent, you know that the fucking media just basically fucking lies about whatever the fuck is convenient. It's never been clear with the Venezuela example and like the kidnapping of Maduro, just because they don't even want to use the word kidnapping. We don't want to use that word. That's a no-no word. This is a fucking pattern. And you can see that especially with the way that the New York Times and Washington Post, they already knew about the raid in advance and they didn't report it right away. It's like, these two huge fucking outlets knew what was going on and they didn't say shit because they exist to serve power. You read their explanation. The explanation is the decisions in the New York and Washington newsrooms to maintain official secrecy is keeping with long-standing American journalistic traditions, even at a moment of unprecedented mutual hostility between the American president and legacy media that continues to dominate national security reporting and offers a rare glimpse of the threat of contact and even cooperation over some of the high-stake national security issues. So basically, one of the big reasons they had over not reporting this shit was straight up being like, yeah, we want to protect, American soldiers during the operation. We don't want to snitch American soldiers and put them at risk. But you look at a death count of the fucking operation, basically 100, I think it's 80 or 100 people have died. American soldier lives matter, but the lives of innocent civilians who die in these attacks don't matter. Venezuelan, Cuban, people of the third world's lives don't matter. It's genuinely appalling to just see the mainstream media just collaborate with the fucking Donald Trump regime. They even acknowledge it, right? Donald Trump shits all over these people. Donald Trump calls the New York Times the failing New York Times. Donald Trump fucking hates these people. He revoked their press passes. And what do? They still suck his fucking cock. They suck his fucking cock because they side with imperialism. And I also want to bring this point even further, by talking a little bit about the history of the New York Times' manufacturing of consent. So if y'all remember in 2019, still a guy named Juan Guaido tried to do his own little coup. A bunch of the mainstream media basically published this story that the Maduro government was burning aid that was going to these desperate, starving Venezuelans. And they're being like, oh, Maduro's a dictator. He's trying to destroy aid. And immediately the footage was called out for being fake. The people who were burning aid weren't pro-Maduro. They were the fucking Venezuelan opposition. Everyone with common sense was able to see that. But it took the fucking New York Times months to fucking say anything. Then eventually, after a bunch of fucking outlets posted about it, they said finally, a new video casted out. It's that shit wasn't new. Everyone with a fucking eye was able to tell that shit was fake as fuck. And going back even further beyond the 2019 coup attempt to the 2002 coup attempt is, I don't know if y'all have seen this pretty amazing documentary. It's called The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It was published in 2003. It was about this coup attempt against Hugo Chavez that was supported by the United States. And a big reason for the title of this documentary, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, right, is just how fucking blatant the media is in terms of its opposition to fucking any government that opposes a neoliberal policy that raises coffers for the ultra rich. And so you look at the way the fucking news media treated Chavez, and keep in mind, by the way, Chavez in 2002 was highly fucking moderate. He was not nationalizing a bunch of shit. All he did was reverse the neoliberal reforms of the previous government. He was very, very friendly, at least in the first few years he was in power. And this is the fucking way the news media was talking about him.
Nuestro presidente está embelesado en una forma sexual tipo freudiana con el señor Fidel Castro. Si no hay un embeleso.
Y dirigentes de Acción Democrática introdujeron ante el Tribunal Supremo de Justicia una declaratoria de insanía mental del presidente de la República, Teniente Coronel Hugo Chávez Frías.
Va llegando el momento en que todos hablemos de la transición, sin Chávez, por supuesto. Hasta el próximo jueves.
Holy shit! Like, this was Chavez when he was like the most friendly with the Venezuelan opposition. And keep in mind, by the way, he had like won election after election after election at this point in time in 2002. And like the fucking private media was smearing him. He was like, fucking Fidel Castro, he's mentally ill, he needs to be removed, right? Like, this is what the fucking media was running. By the way, completely counter to Venezuelan popular opinion at the time. Chavez was on a winning streak in terms of elections in 2002. So like, they were just completely fucking separated from reality. During Chavez's first few years in the presidency, you know, the media was very hostile to him, and then there was a coup attempt with the blessing of the American government, and the news media played an active fucking role in fomenting and supporting the coup. They weren't like neutral arbiters who were like a little bit biased. Like, no, they were active fucking participants in the 2002 coup. Basically how the coup started is, you know, a bunch of Venezuelan opposition protesters started clashing outside the Miraflores palace. Snipers just started shooting at all the protesters who were clashing. The pro-Chavez people were basically being shot at by snipers from the roof, and they were shooting back at the snipers who were like on some rooftops, on some windows somewhere. The news media, the way they framed the whole situation, the whole confrontation, like really showed their ass. This was a whole planned fucking operation to make sure that Chavez would be painted in the worst light possible and that the coup could be supported. So I'm gonna play this clip right here.
Ellos capturan las imágenes cuando desde el puente disparan. Ahora, no sabemos realmente, presumimos que dispara contra la manifestación, pero no vemos. Ahora, sí se ve que esa gente que está en el puente se está agachando, se está cubriendo presumiblemente de disparos que les está llegando. Ahora, nosotros no hicimos ningún esfuerzo por averiguar qué era lo que estaba pasando, sino que ya a priori condenamos y se manipuló y esas imágenes se repitieron una y otra y otra vez para decir que el chavismo había asesinado o era el principal culpable de la masacre de Caracas.
Ahorita presten atención. Miren, la franela del MBR, este señor del chaleco negro, cómo dispara, cómo vacía la pistola. La franela del MBR, este señor ha disparado contra los manifestantes que venían en forma pacífica, absolutamente desarmados.
What the TV stations didn't broadcast was this camera angle, which clearly shows that the streets below were empty. The opposition march had never taken that route. With this manipulation, the deaths could now be blamed on Chavez.
And so, like, after the fucking media basically manipulated snipers shooting at Chavez supporters and Chavez supporters firing back and claiming that Chavez supporters were, like, killing demonstrators or whatever. Like, they had just had a bunch of people who were like, Chavez needs to step down. These people are so violent. He has failed as a president. And so they, like, had a little coup attempt. They had some sections of the army try to fucking remove him in 2002. Like, obviously, you know, when people fucking woke up and saw their fucking rightfully elected president removed, they're like, what the actual fuck? And so they started marching and protesting. And eventually, like, there was such a large popular response that Chavez was basically put back into power by like the power of like the Venezuelan people. And in this entire process, right, the anti-coup, right, the restoration of the rightfully elected Chavez, the news media once again played a very pivotal role in trying to ignore that shit. This is what the news media was running at the time. So like, keep in mind, the presidential palace is basically surrounded by pro-Chavez people who are trying to restore his ass to power because once again, rightfully elected, and he was like overthrown in a fucking illegal, undemocratic coup.
En estos momentos y cuál es la situación en el Palacio de Miraflores. Como usted bien sabe, se han presentado algunas manifestaciones en respaldo a Chávez en el día de hoy. ¿Qué opina usted al respecto?
Pues mire, aun cuando ha habido algunos focos, el control es ya total. El país se encuentra en un estado de normalidad y de control.
Once again, complete fucking lie. He was not in the fucking palace. Like, the Chavez government basically resumed power because the palace guard kicked out the fucking coup plotters. And, like, the palace was fucking surrounded by pro-Chavez demonstrators. This isn't in the documentary, but in the book I'm reading, Richard Gott, the news media was just, like, running random cartoons. They were just running cartoons as Chavez was being, like, swept back into power by the people. Like, a lot of the fucking private media in Venezuela was, like, openly fucking seditious and treasonous against the Chavez government.